Hello, Danner. This is Heather Newton reviewing your entry in the Social Deduction Design Challenge, Jump. Let's start first by looking at the images above the fold on your shop page. I think that this background image is really great, captivating, and it's drawing me in. The only thing that I feel like maybe could be improved is finding a way to not have the title duplicated one over the other, because it kind of begs the question, like, why is it here twice? And I know it's here twice because this is how the template works, and you upload two separate images, and of course this is the logo for the game, but you've also embedded the logo in the background picture, and it's kind of a tough call because it looks really good here with the blue embellishments and centered and big, and it's got like a very punchy short name, which is good and memorable. But of course, the logo, it tells you put the logo here. I wonder if maybe you could do the full logo treatment that looks like this here, and then maybe put a tagline or something at the top, like survival and paranoia in space as text here, potentially. It's not a huge deal. It doesn't lose points or anything. That's just a suggestion for maybe improving the shop page if you move on to sell it on the Game Crafter, to just make it look a little bit more organized and professional as far as the user experience of a web page, and making the most of the space that you have, because this above the fold space is your first opportunity to grab somebody and make them want to scroll down. So using the space to repeat something you already said is kind of a bummer. Like, if you could get a little bit more, you could use that space to better advantage if you could figure out a tagline or something to put in instead. Let's move down to your cool factors. I think you've done a good job of making these specific to your game, specifically what would be memorable about your game, or what you think would be memorable about your game. So that sounds good. That looks good to me. I like your description here. Lots of short, easy to read paragraphs. They don't run on and on. You maybe could find a place to add more headlines, like maybe a story headline and then a game objective headline a little further down, to just like help people direct to what they're most interested in finding out. If they want to skip a portion or something like that, they can get to what they care about faster. Skimmable writing is always great on any web page, e-commerce or blog or whatever. So headlines help with that. And I like that you're pointing out that you have a lot of generous artists and to look out for the credits for them. Now let's go down and look at your box. Again, this is the same art from the hero image, so I think it's great art. I would add to the sides of the box the name of the game on all sides, and also I like to see somewhere easily visible on the outside of the box the stats, these stats, either on maybe two of the sides or maybe on the front cover in the bottom corner or something like that, so it's really easy for me to quickly, if I'm with my group of friends and I've got all my boxes of games and I'm trying to decide which one works for this group, I can tell if the player count and the time limit and everything fit with what I'm doing right now, without having to dig around or look for it in the rulebook or whatever. Now your action shots are, I would say this shot is what I want to see as an action shot, and the just big images of the cards I think would be better presented as embedded images up here. Maybe you could make one embedded image with all three of the cards or something like that. But it says like see it in action here, and it's a carousel. And this is not really the game in action. It's just a close-up of one of the cards, which is nice to see on the shop page, but I'm not sure this carousel that's labeled with this title is the best place to do that. This one image, where is it? This one would be good even if it was the only one you put here and it wasn't moving as a carousel. That could be fine. Or photographs of people playing the game are always perfect for this section, so people can start visualizing themselves playing it, seeing it being played by other people and other people enjoying it. So let's now go over to your rules. And this is a really thematic, rich rule book, and you do have the stats here on the cover of the rule book, but of course I have to open the box and look for the rule book before I see this if you only have it on the rule book, which is time consuming and frustrating and might make me skip choosing to play that game over another one that made it easier for me. All right, so your components list, it's good that you have numbers of how many of each piece that I should expect to find in the box. But lots of different kinds of cards, and I don't have a picture of the cards. So I think this could be improved if you could show me next to the name of the card what the card looks like, what maybe the back of it looks like, or something like that, so that I don't have to count the cards and go, okay, these must be the roll cards because there are 7, etc. But just I can quickly go, okay, here's the roll cards, this is what they look like, count them, make sure I have all the pieces and everything before I start trying to play. I like that you're starting with an overview, or I mean, maybe I would even call it, I would like to, overview is good, but I would also like to see it framed as objective, like early on, the objective stated, because that helps when you read it early. You can have it in the back of your mind. What am I picturing myself setting as my goal? And as I read how I do everything, I can start picturing what my strategy might be, what it would be like to play the game as I read. And we have a lot of we have a lot of diagrams that are good, that are clear and big pictures, so we can see them well. We can see all the parts of it. We do have some pictures here where you're explaining what this card is. It's interesting. I mean, these cards are really cool looking. I like how clean they are, but I feel like it would be a little bit easier on players while actually playing the game if it just said right on the card what the card does, or at least something a little bit more. It does have some icons. I'm not immediately aware of or remembering what these icons mean. And I don't know, I'm not seeing a diagram of it. Maybe in your list you say you have player reference cards. Okay, cost of missions, starvation reference. Not immediately understanding what starvation reference would be applied to. Small map, mission cards, player cards, okay. But yeah, like I'm not sure if the reference card is going to quickly reference this stuff, or if I'm going to need to have the rule book open to this page as a reference the whole first time that I'm playing through. Explanation of rounds. Wow, okay, the setup is pretty far down, I feel like, in this rule book. Usually setup is one of the first things, say right next to the list of components. So maybe I'd say ideal order a lot of the time is objective, components, setup, how to play, etc. How to winning the game, end of the game after that, right? This does feel just kind of jumbled and out of order. It has been a little while since the last time I read every detail of these rules, but I remember this section really being taxing for me to understand what the point of it was. It feels intimidating. It does not feel approachable. It does feel intimidating, this part of the rules. Okay, how traders find each other out, round structure, which is interesting. It says round structure here, and the game is in rounds and phases, and these are like separated from one another. But like I'd like to see kind of the whole structure of the game all next to each other, so I'm like when I need to double check something about the rules, it's quick for me to pick up the rule book again and be like, oh, okay, I just need clarification on something about the rounds. That must be in this area, and not have like two places in the rule book that talk about similar types of things. And we do have an example showing the amount of fuel available on a planet. Okay, so it's saying there's 2 fuel. As a quick look at this, I think you're saying there's 2 fuel here, 3 here, 4 here. And man, I do not understand at quick glance why there's 4 here. Okay, the fuel, you're making me think that this is the fuel symbol. 3, 2, why 4? Maybe because of the other cards that are with it. And of course, I haven't read it immediately. Mission card, the hazard level of the planet. Oh, that's probably it seems like the exclamation points must be the hazard level, right? Okay. Okay, nebulas increase the fuel for the first. Okay. Yes, this feels super convoluted to keep track of. Maybe that's sort of the point. Maybe that's something that, like, maybe it's supposed to be sort of obstructed, like how much of everything there is, and you want people to have to think about it. But it's important to, I can't say unless I've actually sat and played this game, like where the fun is in the game and where the bumpy points or where the frustration are. But I would lean into what's fun. I would expect what's fun to be the suspicion and the accusation and everything. And so removing things that are convoluted like this to make more space to have fun and not be tired and frustrated from trying to parse all this stuff and do this math and figure it all out. I guess these must be nebulas that are increasing the fuel level, and the hazard is what goes with the fuel level or something like that. Interesting too, this has this, but no fuel. Boy, it's just not immediately apparent. Like, I'm sure I could figure it out if I read really closely and compared the picture and thought about it. It probably is all there, but it's not holding my hand as much as I'd like it to make it feel like completely approachable to play this game. We can heal. Okay. All the different phases broken out, another diagram and examples. So yeah, I mean, you're doing a good job of putting the effort into having lots of diagrams and good graphic design in your rule book, but I think just some standard reconsideration of how the rules are presented. It's actually possible that this whole thing that's confusing me is more intuitive than it seems right now as I look at the rule book. It might be. It's hard for me to say one way or the other without actually playing it, but I think I would recommend for this game maybe doing a sanity test through the Game Crafter, because that's a nice service they offer that's not very affordable, or not very expensive. It is very affordable. I think it's $25 to $35, something like that. So I think that they know a lot about like standard structure of rules, and they can give you some good advice and editing help and stuff like that. So I think that might be worth considering for this game. I'll say this one was not a finalist. I did really think that the concept of the game sounded really interesting, and it does sound like something if I was, for example, at a playtesting event and you asked me, do you want to try this game? I would say, yes. I'm totally curious to see how it works, and I do think it has really nice, clean art and graphic design. But as I'm comparing it to the other games that did make it into the finals, they are just easier for me to feel certain I'll be able to teach to a group of playtesters and evaluate them based on actually how the designer intended them to be played, or I'm more sure I would be able to get pretty close to what they intended without having them there to direct me. So that was what made the decision in this case, but I do think it is a worth pursuing project, and I look forward to seeing what you do with it in the future. Hey there! Thanks for watching! Be sure to check the description for more information and links to helpful resources. Some links will give me a commission if you choose to buy, and I sure do appreciate the support. Thanks again, and see you in the next video!